So you want to make a ginger bug. What this is a fermented liquid that you make by fermenting ginger, and then you can use that in turn to make sodas from fruit juices. What happens is you attract wild yeasts and bacteria that end up digesting sugar and turning it into carbonation. You also get a probiotic boost along with a nice sugar-less alternative to soda. Now, some people might refute probiotics, say there's not enough evidence for them. I would recommend watch my Maxing Out My Gut series where I literally go over my entire journey of introducing probiotics into my gut. They've done many things for my endurance, my mental clarity, my smell whenever I work out. You can also read online of the testimonials of people who have introduced probiotics into their diet and seen good things. So I would recommend you try it before you deny. If anything, you can get a nice sugar-less soda. Other benefits of ginger itself: it is antimicrobial, meaning it's basically like medicine. It boosts your digestion, and it also helps to fight inflammation. So inflammation can build up in your body whenever your diet's essentially in the wrong place. And this can help to reverse that, which is a great thing. And there's also studies that show that it can raise the testosterone in rats. Although I couldn't find one in humans, if it raises it in rats, it likely raises it in us too. So that's another thing to look forward to. Now, if you're a woman watching this, a lady, you're still going to want testosterone because every piece of estrogen in your body comes from testosterone. So this is overall a nice hormone boost if it is true that it raises it in us. Now, to get into the creation of the ginger bug, you're going to need mason jars, these pop-top bottles, and some way to get access to filtered water. The reason that it's important that it's filtered is that chlorine messes up this whole process. If you have tap water, your only option basically is to either use bottled water, some sort of bottled mineral water, or you can leave it out overnight and the chlorine will dissipate and then everything will go good. Chlorine just messes up the ferment. That's all you really need to know. Other than those materials, it costs $10 to get one of these started. You need to buy some organic ginger and some organic cane sugar. Now, the reason for these to be organic is very important. You need organic ginger because non-organic ginger goes under a process called irradiation. What happens here is, I assume it's because it's covered in pesticides or chemicals and they have to get rid of them, but the bacteria and natural yeast on the non-organic ginger, the conventional ginger, gets destroyed. It goes over some sort of washing process. Organic ginger does not have to deal with this. Meaning, if you use non-organic ginger, you're essentially losing the entire starter pack that comes with organic ginger. Use organic ginger for a ginger bug. It already starts with a little bit of bacteria and a little bit of yeast, and then that can multiply and everything goes well. Whenever I get into the problem section, you'll find that non-organic ginger causes a lot of the common problems. So it costs like $1 extra. Get the organic ginger. It's $6 for 2 pounds of organic sugar as well. Non-organic sugar is grown in a field with pesticides as well. You're just getting random weird chemicals into your food with non-organic sugar. Just get the organic stuff. It's really not that much more expensive. A lot of pesticides have been found to tank your hormonal health. So, me personally, I'll be avoiding pesticides as often as I can. To make the ginger bug, you're going to fill this jar with water about all the way to the top. This is a 7-day process. Stop at like this line right here. It's not too important how much water you have, although you do want to leave a little bit of extra room because it is making carbonation. You don't want your jar to explode. And then you're going to add 1 tablespoon of sugar and 1 tablespoon of ginger. If you have a kitchen scale, 1 tablespoon of ginger looks like 6 grams. Or you can, I'll put a picture of ginger right up here. You can just break off one of the tiny knobs. That's typically about 6 grams. I don't think the measurements are that deep. As long as you're getting that 1 tablespoon of ginger, 1 tablespoon of sugar, you should be good. Something close to that. And then you're going to close your jar. You can close it all the way, but if you close it all the way overnight, make sure you open it by the next day. Otherwise, your jar could explode. A lot of people, for that reason, opt to use some sort of a coffee filter or a cheesecloth and a rubber band. And that will keep bugs out and not let the pressure build up. Now, by day 3 to 4, you should start to see little bubbles forming. That is a good sign that the ferment is going well. And then by day 7, you should have a nice and fizzy ginger bug. A good way to test this is to seal the jar overnight and then open it up in the morning. And when you open up the jar, the bacteria will react nicely to the air and you'll see a lot of fizz. If that happens, then it's ready to go into the second ferment. Now, the second ferment involves getting whatever fruit juice you want and just adding a little bit of the ginger bug. These pop top bottles that I have hold about 2 cups of liquid. So I've personally found a lot of success with buying these Snapple teas from the gas station. Your goal for 2 cups, 16 ounces of liquid is 50 grams of sugar. That's what I've found the most success with personally. That's my rule whenever I'm making my own juices. Or honestly, I just do some sort of a sugar water. I'll teach you guys how to make a ginger beer in here. 50 grams of sugar per 2 cups of water has yielded the most success for me. Any less, it doesn't get any carbonation really. Any more, the carbonation goes fast, but it's going to be very sweet. And a lot of fruit juices will naturally have about 50 grams of sugar. So it's a win-win. Now, you're going to fill this bottle with a couple inches of ginger bug. I'd say about 1.5 inches. Quarter cup of ginger bug per 2 cups of liquid. And what this is going to do is the bacteria in the ginger bug are going to mix with the fruit juice. And the bacteria are going to multiply and eat the sugars. So you're going to fill a couple inches of ginger bug, 1 inch of ginger bug, and then fill with fruit juice all the way up and leave 1.5 inches of space. What this is going to do is keep the bottle from exploding, let pressure build up, and you're going to seal it for a day. And then the next day, this is very important, you're going to open the jar. Open the pop top bottle. The reason for this is called burping, is so it doesn't explode. You want carbonation to build up over a full day, so you have to let it sit for a day. This is hard. You might think it's going to explode after 12 hours. You might get worried. Just leave it for a day. It'll be fine. I've never experienced anything bad happening after leaving it for a day. These things were meant to handle carbonation. That's the whole selling point of them. That's the exact reason that you can't use mason jars for this second ferment. Because mason jars are a lot more prone to breakage, either in the lid or maybe the glass just ultimately breaks. You want to avoid building up pressure in your mason jar as much as possible. Now, I like to keep my ginger bug fizzy, so I take the risk by sealing my mason jar with my first ferment, but definitely do not do that with the second ferment. It'll go bad. So, day 1, you seal the bottle, burp it. Day 2, same exact thing. You just repeat this process of burping the bottle once a day, and then you got to leave it. Do not feed it more sugar. It's fine. As long as you have that 50 grams of sugar per 2 cups of juice, that will make a nice sugarless fermented soda. I found that you get perfect fizziness after about 3 days with my ginger bug. You will have to experiment with your own. Now, let's get into some of the problems. First off, make sure you're using real sugar. If you use some sort of artificial sweetener like stevia leaf, monk fruit extract, aspartame, you will not invite the correct bacteria into your ferment. Now, there's trillions of bacteria in your gut. I can't believe I didn't talk about this until now. And the idea is with probiotics that you want to introduce the right ones. And the bacteria that you are inviting into the ginger bug is known as lactobacillus. This is basically an acidic bacteria that makes up about 50% of your gut, and they help you. They strengthen your gut barrier. They're great. And you also invite natural yeasts. Now, if you experience something like a fungal dandruff, where that may be a fungus, so that's a bad example. If your sweat smells like yeast, maybe you have a yeast infection, maybe you have yeast in your armpits. I'm not too sure about how that works, but essentially, you can get an overgrowth of bad yeasts. And introducing the good yeasts, in theory, can help to fight that. So that's another benefit of ginger bugs. But if you don't use natural sugar, then you're not going to invite any of those good bacteria. Then the question rises, what are you feeding with these artificial sweeteners? Artificial sweeteners aren't even really good for you. I know stevia leaf and monk fruit are technically considered harmless in the health community. This ginger bug digests the sugar, so I don't see why you would be worried about sugar when it's already lowering the sugar so much and turning it into carbonation. Now for the common problems. You're going to find an overarching theme of if you didn't follow the rules, you're probably going to experience one of these problems. So the first one is it doesn't fizz. After day 3 or 4, it's still not fizzing at day 7. That just means you didn't cultivate the right bacteria. You didn't cultivate any bacteria, likely. And you're going to have to start over. This probably means that you didn't use organic ginger, or you didn't use filtered water, or you put it in a very hot or cold environment. The ginger bug is going to thrive around 70 degrees. My house is a little colder than that, so I'm living proof that it definitely still works at a colder temperature. If you're not using organic ginger, I've already explained that before, you're not cultivating the right bacteria because there's no bacteria on the ginger's outside to begin with. Obviously, there will be bacteria, but not the kind that we want that comes from the dirt. The next problem is if there's mold on your ginger bug, you have to make sure that you're feeding it 1 tablespoon of ginger every day, 1 tablespoon of sugar every day. And whenever you stir it, the risk of mold is going to go away because whatever ginger is floating up top is going to in turn get shuffled back into the water. There's no time for the mold to grow as long as you're stirring it every single day. Or I shake it because I leave my jar sealed. So if you're experiencing mold on your ginger bug, throw it out. Start again. I'm sorry. Don't peel it off because that probably means contamination within your ginger bug. Make sure you're feeding that thing every day, and you really shouldn't have a problem with mold. Now, if it gets a bad smell or some sort of a slimy texture or maybe some weird colors, I've heard that pink is okay. I've never experienced a pink color in my ginger bug. If you have any of these problems, maybe it turns brown or a slimy texture or it smells, throw it out. That's another sign that you have the wrong bacteria in your ginger bug. You probably didn't use organic ginger. You probably used some sort of weird water. Maybe you stirred it and your fingers touched it and your hands weren't clean. Any of that could have happened. Start over. I'm sorry. And then the next problem that arises that I've seen a couple times online is your ginger bug becomes alcoholic. The only reason this can happen is if you use non-organic ginger. I'm not going to say the only reason, but that is the major reason that I've seen. If your ginger bug starts to taste a lot like alcohol, that means that the yeasts have overpopulated the ginger bug, and in turn, it has produced alcohol. Now, the ginger bug is going to be 1 to 2% alcoholic, but it will not taste like you're drinking some sort of a beer. This happens because you used non-organic ginger, and the yeasts on the outside of the ginger survived the irradiation. And in turn, that's what populated your ginger bug. There's basically 0 lactobacillus in here, from what I understand. Obviously, I can't test that. But if you're using organic ginger, it shouldn't become alcoholic. Now, if you are burping your ginger bug too often, carbonation will not get the opportunity to build up. So I want you to make sure that you're burping it once every day. Think about a soda. Whenever you open a soda and leave it out for a while, it becomes flat. It becomes not fizzy. This is a principle that also works with the ginger bug. If you're opening your pop top bottle every single day, or pro tip, you can use a soda bottle, some sort of a plastic Pepsi can or plastic Pepsi bottle or something like that. If you're doing the second ferment, you can squeeze it, and if it's firm, that means the carbonation is good. You don't even have to burp it. I would still burp it once a day, but that's a good way to test if your glass bottle is building up a lot of pressure, if you're using a soda bottle as well alongside it. But if you're burping it more than once a day, just know that the carbonation will not get an opportunity to build up. And that's what ultimately carbonates the liquid, is when carbonation builds up, it goes into the liquid. So that's something to watch out for. I've had many ferments fail because it digests all the sugar and the carbonation just gets lost in the air. Now for the ginger beer recipe. You're going to want to use 8 tablespoons of sugar, 4 cups of water, half a lemon, and a ton of ginger. I'd say like 12 tablespoons of ginger. The more ginger you use, the stronger it's going to be. If you want it to taste more like a store-bought ginger beer, just grab 4 of the little notches on the end of the ginger. That should be enough. And that's what you need. Now, 8 grams of sugar is going to be 8 tablespoons of sugar, my bad, is going to be 100 grams of sugar, which is going to be the perfect environment for a 4 cup of water, 32 ounce pop top bottle. That's bigger than what I have. I would fill 2 bottles with this. Now what you're going to do, simmer down half a cup of water, make it nice and hot, and then you're going to melt all of your sugar in there. And you're also going to add the ginger to let that ginger's juices start to activate. Use organic ginger, not non-organic ginger. It's not that much more expensive. I don't see why you wouldn't use organic ginger. Simmer that down. Once the sugar's melted, add the rest of the water. Turn off the heat. Turn off the heat before you add the rest of the water so that it's nice and lukewarm. You don't want to kill the bacteria once you add the ginger bug. And then squeeze half of a lemon into there. That's really easy ginger beer recipe. You bottle that up. Add your 1/4 cup of ginger bug. You'll be fine. Now there's one last thing I want to talk about. If you don't intend on using your ginger bug for the week, you can store it in the refrigerator. All you have to do is feed it, put it in the fridge, and then you can feed that once a week instead of once a day. After day 7, you're still going to be feeding your ginger bug every single day to keep it active. That's important. But if you want to use it out of the fridge, it's going to be in a more dormant state. All you have to do to revive it is feed it and let it sit for 24 hours, and then it's good to go. All right, before I wrap up the video, there's a few pro tips that I wish to rapid fire for you that I had forgot to mention beforehand. The first one is for your second ferment of the ginger bug, you only need to strain out the liquid. What this means is you don't have to dump chunks of ginger into your second soda. All you need is the starter liquid. That's where all the bacteria are harbored. That's where all the yeast are harbored. And that'll give you the results. If you wish to put ginger in there, it can speed up the ferment, but you don't have to. The second thing I want to address is, what do you do if too much ginger is built up in your ginger bug? Either this has an insanely strong ginger taste and it's not as fizzy and likable as you like it, or it's just building up. There's a lot of ginger, there's not a lot of liquid, you need more. 2 things you can do. If you don't like the gingery taste, you can strain out all of the liquid into a second mason jar and just feed it once with a tablespoon of ginger and a tablespoon of sugar, and that basically resets the whole thing. I've had my ginger bug for about 2 months now, and I still haven't gotten to the stage where I'd say it's got too much ginger in it. But when I do remove the ginger, I will be removing the ginger that has sunk to the bottom, because that ginger's more old. That's from when I first started feeding it. So that will be the ginger that I'll be removing. And that's what I would suggest for you guys. I'd probably end up removing about half of it. If it's just flooded with ginger and so hard to take the liquid out, that's when I'll likely start to remove my ginger. Now, I want you guys to realize the amount of potential that this ginger bug soda has. First off, if you make your own fruit and vegetable juices, you could, 1 carrot is 280% of your daily vitamin A. You could put a ton of dark leafy greens inside of a juice for that calcium, or I think it's vitamin C and magnesium. And you can do a bunch of other fruits that you like for some potassium. You can get like half of your daily vitamins with this fruit juice, and then you can turn it into a soda. So I think that's cool. That's what I'll ideally be using the ginger bug for. And the last thing is, I do this all the time. If you just want the probiotic benefits, you can drink the ginger bug straight. There's no rule saying you have to do the second ferment. So, with this knowledge, guys, I hope you make a ginger bug. This thing's been an awesome experience for me. I hope you guys can enjoy it just as much as I have. Treat your body as a temple. This is a good way to stay healthy and enjoy soda. Thanks for watching, guys.